Welcome back. Yesterday we mentioned on the morning show that there was quite a pushback, at least in Poland. They had a huge demonstration on the pushback of Muslim immigrants into that area. So what's happening throughout Europe? Well, I'm delighted to have with us John McTernan. He is the founder and of Defend and Proclaim the Faith Ministries, founder of the Defend and Proclaim Faith Ministries, and you can go to usaprophecy.com is his website, usaprophecy.com. Hi, John. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine, and it's a pleasure to be interviewed by you.
Yeah, good to see you. First of all, let me ask you, you got a brochure out that's doing quite well, reaching out to Christians. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's gone viral. I don't know if you have a picture of it or not. I'll show you one here. This is the title of it. Jesus Christ came to heal the brokenhearted. And we got about 3 million worldwide now. We have them in India and Pakistan.
Once again, we're seeing what's possible with strong American diplomacy.
I'm sorry.
Goodbye.
I've closed. Something's open.
I say that
you got something open there. Okay, so if people wanted to get one of those, go to usaprophecy.com?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, listen, what's happening with the migration invasion in Europe? I saw something yesterday, and you kind of had to snoop around on the web to find it, but there was a massive demonstration in Poland against Muslim immigrants there. It just didn't make any national news. What's happening?
Well, Europe is in a real crisis. I mean, it's in a crisis for its identity, for its security, its culture. Everything is in crisis now in Europe. And for some reason, I'm going to call them the ruling elites, for lack of a better word, they want to bring in millions of Muslims. What happened right now, or just not right now, but within the last couple months, is just the beginning from everything I'm reading. And there's pushback now. Certain countries are blocking the Muslims from coming in for their, well, security and for their culture. There is a vast, vast difference between an Islamic culture and, well, every other culture. And when Islam comes into an area, they don't assimilate, they assimilate the culture into them. If that's the best way to explain it. And that's what's on in Europe right now.
I mean, we don't need any more subway bombings. We don't need any more Paris, France attacks. And yet, in some areas throughout Europe, they're letting Parliament and Sharia law coexist. I mean, this is a license for disaster.
Well, it really is. And what we don't understand here in America, and it's so frustrating because I have studied Islam. I have, for untold numbers of hours, I've interacted with some of the world's leading Islamic scholars. And Islam is more than a religion. Like in the West, we think of, well, we have like Christianity here in America. They talk about separation of church and state. In Islam, it's not like that. Islam encompasses everything. It encompasses politics. It encompasses military. It encompasses economics. It encompasses how to deal with, we'll say, religious minorities. It deals with religion. So Islam is not simply religion. It includes politics, and when the Muslims come into a country, they view Islam as God's law, and when you put God's law against secular law here in America, let's say, they think, well, God's law's got to win. And that's the Muslim mentality. That's Sharia law. That's part of it, Sharia law. So they want to bring every society that they come into under what they say or believe is God's law. And that's what's going on in Europe. They're denying it in Britain, and they're trying to deny it in Britain and France and like Sweden. But I'm reading reports where they're calling it London stand now, and Paris stand, and like in Stockholm stand, Oslo. Whole areas of the country become Islamic, and they don't assimilate, and it expands and it expands and it expands until they gain control of countries. And that's exactly what is going on in Europe.
So with all these immigrants coming in, we know now, I say this from a research, they're profiling the immigrants are coming in, mostly male, mostly young male. There are some women, there are some families integrated with it. but it clearly gives the indication that there's more going on here than people running for their lives.
Well, exactly. I mean, why is it 80% of the so-called immigrants coming into Europe are between like 18 and 30, with very few families, relatively few females? Why? It's more of an invasion. And like I said, unfortunately, it's even horrible to talk about it. You had the massive amount of rapes that took place just a week or so ago. Germany got the headlines, but it wasn't only limited to Germany. It was 7 other European countries. It was obviously coordinated. They were coordinating it through social media. And what part of the Islamic mentality is that when they take over a country, take over society, the unbelieving women are the spoils of war. This is, I mean, you can just see it in their culture. Egypt, for example, the rape is very, very prominent amongst the Coptic Christian women, very prominent. So it's not. This is something that's in their culture. They look down at the what they call the infidel women. They have no rights, and that they're viewed as the spoils of war. This is what's going on in Europe as I speak right now.
John, when are we going to see a world leader stand up and say to the Muslims, take back your religion? Well, take back your religion. If you are supposedly a religion of peace, there is nothing going on with you so-called moderate Muslims that would demonstrate that. So your silence is a condonement. When are you going to stand up and take back your religion?
There's a suicidal mentality in the West. I mean, Donald Trump stood up, and what he said was very plausible. Like, okay, let's stop the immigration of Muslims because we have this terrorism going on until we can sort it out and get something how to identify bona fide immigrant. The world went crazy. In Great Britain right now, as I speak, Parliament is debating banning Donald Trump from Europe because of what he just said. He didn't say anything like vicious or ugly. He said, we got a terrorism problem with these people and we can't sort out who's legitimate and who's not. They went crazy. The Europeans, many of the European nations, I have no idea what's going on in the, I call them the hard left leaders. They somehow run to protect and coddle Islam. I can't understand it. And at the same time, they want to like destroy everything they can do to destroy Christianity. And then on the other hand, they turn to a religion where women are subjugated, where the minorities have absolutely no rights, where, like, for example, in countries that are Islamic, if you're not a Muslim, you have to pay what's called the jizya. That is a surtax, a 25 minimum of 25% surtax on top of non-believers, in addition to what the people pay. So the tax rate's 20%. The non-believers have to pay 45%, and whatever else can be put on them. This is real Islam. This is Sharia law. This is what goes on in Saudi Arabia, which is our ally. If you convert from Islam to Christianity, it's a death sentence. That's what Muhammad said. That's what's in their law. This is not a joke. This is real Islam, and we are importing it here and somehow saying that the Muslims here that come from whatever country, they leave the Islam that they were living in, and now it's sort of a purified, mild, friendly, loving type of religion. No, because Islam, remember what I said.
All right, now, let me go somewhere here. I don't think the West, a democracy, understands the East, a monarchy. We just don't get it. We don't get that under that monarchy, the religion is everything. It is politics, it is military, it is society, it is a belief system, it's their philosophy, it's everything wrapped into one. We are still trying to separate religion from activity, and I got to tell you, it's just not washing. But their own civil war in the Middle East, between the Shiites and the Sunnis, as to who is the most purest Islamist, if I could put it that way. Isn't that in itself problematic for them?
Well, absolutely. And if you study Islamic history, I mean, there were incredible wars through the centuries with untold numbers of people died. The Shiites lost, and they were kind of confined to Persia, which is modern Iran, and a little bit outside, some in Iraq. There are some in Saudi Arabia, some in Syria. Assad would be more Shiite in Syria. And then the Sunnis are the largest, probably about 85% of Islam, which Saudi Arabia is, Turkey is, Egypt is. And right now, and basically what it boils down to is who was the successor of Muhammad. The Sunnis say it was his lieutenants in the military, and the Shiites say it was a family. Muhammad did not have a son, so they have some other way of figuring his descendants. And that's the battle. And the Sunnis say we're pure Islam. The Shiites say we're pure Islam, and it's coming to a head right now. As we speak, it looks like for sure there is a building, all-out civil war coming, really generated by Iran. But Iran now has a Shiite revolution going on in Yemen, which is south of Saudi Arabia. It has the militias in Iraq. The Iraqi government is Shiite. That's north of Saudi Arabia. Then you have Shiites taking with Assad. You have Iran in Syria also, which is Shiite. Hezbollah in Lebanon is Shiite, and it is scaring the Sunnis. It is stirring Turkey. It is stirring Egypt, and we're heading for a really all-out Sunni Shiite war in the Middle East for who is going to control Islam. It's happening.
Yeah, I see that brewing. And the other thing is, both of them want the crown jewel of taking out Israel. And some prophetic studies will say that as they march against Israel, they turn on themselves because both of them want to have the credit, but they end up destroying themselves, and that somewhat fulfills Bible prophecy in that Israel survives without firing a shot. You see that?
Well, not really. Israel is a unifying factor for them to unify, to join each other to fight against Israel. They've tried that, but their animosity is deeper than unifying against Israel. They look at each other as complete, total apostates that must be destroyed. And this is what I believe is going to happen. We'll tell as time goes on. I believe that this civil war it's right on top of us right now with Islam. The winner of it will then unify all Islam, and then you will have the attack on Israel. That's what I see.
What do you see happening in civilized countries, more modern countries, Europe, United States? I mean, how long are we going to tolerate this? It's come at us with various names. It's come at us with various interpretation. At the end of the day, it is a religion that wants to kill us. When do you think we're going to have enough of it?
That's hard to say. I mean, with the politicians, I can only speak for the United States because I only see, I get a glimpse of Europe. But we have politicians here that no matter what happens, like, what was it, the mayor of Philadelphia, that man, the Muslim man with the loaded gun walked up to the policeman there hollering, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, shot him. I don't know how many times. The police officer survived, but he got hit, I think, 3 or 4 times in the left side, some serious wounds. He was hollering, he's dressed as a Muslim, hollering Allah Akbar, and say that he had committed his life to the Islamic Caliphate under ISIS. And the mayor said that this isn't real Islam. So is he a theologian? I mean, we have politicians in America that become Islamic theologians and people that quote the Quran about killing the infidels and Allah Akbar. All of a sudden, they're not real Muslims, and it seems like that every incident that happens, there are untold number of politicians and people in the media that run and say that this is not real Islam. This is not. Well, what is real Islam? Is real Islam Saudi Arabia, where women, if a woman is caught in a car, a unmarried woman is caught in a car with a man, she can be dragged out and like lashed 50 times. You know, if someone converts from Islam to Christianity, they chop their head off. I mean, that's real Islam. And so, but they yet holler, it's a religion of peace. It's peace and tolerance. No, it's not. Iran is Shiite. It's not peaceful and tolerant. Saudi Arabia is Sunni. That's not peace. It's peaceful if you completely submit to it and don't do anything and don't try. You know, if a woman completely submits to it, okay, I guess you could say it's peaceful. But if she doesn't want to dress that way, if she's in public and not accompanied by a man, she can be subject to religious crimes and being whipped. I mean, what?
Let me ask you this. I'm going to run out of time here. Got about 2 minutes left. It's been talked about. All right, you got Iran and Saudi Arabia, the two different factions, Shiites and Sunnis. All right. It's been thought that Saudi Arabia would give Israel permission to fly through the airspace to bomb Iran. I mean, that's a strange coalition, but that does play right into the Civil War, doesn't it?
Yeah, Israel has said, in fact, I just picked it up yesterday. Israel said they rather deal with ISIS than Iran. That's what Israel, when Israel looks at both of them, they rather deal with ISIS than Iran, or Iran is the bigger danger. And it shows you the depth of division and fear in the Sunnis, especially Saudi Arabia, for Iran, where they're willing to form a coalition with Israel to take on Iran. And part of this is because of Obama. Obama has completely pulled American power out of the Middle East, and that's why Iran is rising. Iran is going to build a nuclear weapon under the present plan that Obama did, because North Korea, we had the same thing going in North Korea. North Korea just the other day set off a nuclear weapon, and they had the same type of deal that Obama made with Iran. So Iran is going to do it. Saudi Arabia cannot allow Iran to do that. Israel cannot allow Iran to do that. That's why we're heading to a huge confrontation in the Middle East.
Well, John, thank you. Again, it's Defend and Proclaim the Faith Ministries. You can go to usaprophecy.com and check out his website and get one of his flyers. Maybe you want to get several of those. Hold that up again, John, and people could probably get some of these and hand them out. He's printed over 3 million now worldwide and growing. Thanks, John. Let's stay in touch. This is pretty interesting because you have to ask the big question, and we don't have time to answer it. Why is the president so pro-Muslim? I'll let you answer it next time.
The obvious answer is he's an Islamist. I mean, no one can do what he's doing without having a real love for Islam.
Gotta go. Thanks, buddy. We'll see you next time. All right, we'll see you next time.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at thedove.us.